Just what, about a year ago, partner? Student fees, funding was
Yes, and that time is
yeah?
coming again to focus on that, partner. There's been a significant increase in the number of students applying for funding at tertiary institutions for next year. As of last week, about 280,000 applications had been received by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, that's NSFAS now. They are urging those who haven't applied yet to make sure they do so by this Friday. That's the deadline. The scheme's administrator, Dr. Randall Carolissen, is here with us this morning. Doctor, good morning, and thank you very much for your time. Preparing for this interview, I know there's lots about figures and stats and stuff, but as I'm sitting here, as I'm reading that intro, I'm thinking deadline is Friday. Now, I think it's important to start there. Are you going to extend the deadline under any circumstance at all? So people must be clear. The reason I'm asking this is that sometimes they said, oh, they didn't tell us it was Friday. We didn't really know. We want another week and stuff like that. Is the deadline set in stone?
The deadline is set in stone, and thanks for having us. Set in stone for coming Friday. But we are seeing some dynamics that, that concern us. So as at this morning, 5 o'clock, we've already received close to 300,000 applicants. So it's really coming in very strongly. But the major part of that is coming from university enrollments, or applicants, about 90%. So the TVET enrollment has been very slow. And so we'll be focusing our efforts this week to step up on that. We've had an intensive rural campaign over the past 2 or 3 weeks to get to the rural areas and starting to reflect in our numbers. Very good. So we will have to take a critical look at the end of this month to say what we are going to do about the low TVET enrollment. But the university sector is doing fantastically well, much better than last year. Okay, how could you step up the TVETs? Well, continue to do what we're doing is to educate and to go out there into all the communities. In fact, this afternoon I'm speaking to 500 learners to emphasize the importance of the TVET sector. The TVET sector are the skills that South Africa need going forward, and soon the university sector will be saturated, and we need to get the TVET environment going very strongly. Okay, 300,000 applicants by 5 o'clock this morning before you came to the studio. That's what we are sitting with, and if I'm to understand you correctly, the bulk of them are for university, more than TVETs. And I just want, there's been some changes in criteria in terms of what happened after fees must fall. There's loans and there's grants. So what are people applying for? So since 2018, all students will be fully funded or are fully funded. So going forward, fully funded. And then, of course, the students still in the system are on that bursary scheme, and their criteria is different from the ones that are fully funded. So the 300,000 applicants who are new will be fully funded? Fully funded. There's no loan. It's a fully funding. So it's on a grant basis? Yes, it's on a grant basis, fully funded. And it pays for tuition, residence, book allowance, food allowance, and in some cases also travel allowance. So it's really fully funded. No accommodation? Residence, residence is included? Included, yeah. I skipped over that one, but yes, it's included. Okay, now, can we talk these numbers? Where you are seeing a lot of applications for universities rather than TVETs, you've clarified over 300,000. When you look at the geographic spread in the country, which part of South Africa is really keen on getting NSFAS funding? Well, the highest score is for KZN. More than 85,000 comes from KZN. If you look at that as a percentage of the matriculants, it's about 46%. So it's a really high enrollment from KZN. Gauteng and Free State falls in that same category, a little bit lower. And the lowest enrollments, unfortunately, come from the Capes, the Eastern Cape, the Western Cape, and the Northern Cape. They're below 30%. How should we interpret this? What do these numbers tell us? In your head, I mean, you've been involved in, what is it telling us? Well, it tells us that there might be geographical realities, so the poorer students might be coming from these areas that are so vigorously responding. It also speaks to our marketing efforts. We have been deployed personnel into the regions, and they are really, really doing well. So it's not really a big spread. It's from 46 to 30%. It's not that big, but yeah, there are some geographic realities which we need to take into account. What would be the key messages now to applicants? Somebody might be watching here and or is thinking that somebody needs to apply. What are you telling? We know Friday is a deadline. We know there's some dynamics, as you've said. So what should they be doing between now and Friday? Well, first of all, I think students should realize this is a game changer for their lives. It could change their lives forever. Fully funded, they don't have any concerns about where the next meal is going to come from. They can focus on their studies, they can do well, and they can make a life for themselves and their families. So going forward, please register. Even though you might not have all the forms, get onto our database. We can always process and get forms later. But what forms you will need is your ID document and your father's or mother's ID document. If you are a ward, a social grant recipient, please provide us with proof of that also. And then proof of income. If you don't, if your parents are not employed, of course you don't have proof of income. You know, just indicate so. It's very easy to apply. It takes you 5 minutes. You go onto our website. If you can't get any joy there, you can call NSFAS, 08000 NSFAS. Or you can go to the nearest NYDA office. So it's very easy, it's easy to apply, and we really encourage young people to make use of this fantastic opportunity.
Thank you very much. That's Dr. Randall Carolissen, the administrator of NSFAS.